All right, and we're live. We're back with another show. The great Biscoff episode. I found just some context. Usually we wait to get into usually the title makes sense later in the episode, but I'm just gonna start them off. I found these in my backpack from when I was when I flew, and now I got these Biscoff cookies, and I don't think they're that old. I think they're like a few weeks. So I'm trying to determine if I don't think they go stale. There's got like a ton of preservatives in them, but it's a great Biscoff. Lost Biscoff.
The Great British Biscoff.
Ah, that's right.
So I want to read this excerpt from this book, and I want you to guess what it's from.
Okay.
Okay. No longer knowing whether time existed, whether the display had lasted a second or 100 years, whether there was a Siddhartha or a Gautama, a self or others, wounded deeply by a divine arrow which gave him pleasure. Deeply enchanted and exalted, Govinda stood, yet while bending over Siddhartha's peaceful face, which he had just kissed, which he had just been at the stage of all present and future forms. His countenance was unchanged after the mirror of the thousandfold forms had disappeared from the surface. He smiled peacefully and gently, perhaps very graciously, perhaps very mockingly, exactly as the illustrious one had smiled. Govinda bowed low. Incontrollable tears trickled down his old face. He was overwhelmed by a feeling of great love, of the most humble veneration. He bowed low, right down to the ground, in front of the man sitting there, motionless, whose smile reminded him of everything that he had ever loved in his life, of everything that he had ever seen of value and of holiness in his life.
So wait, so I'm supposed to guess the title of that book, like the book that you just read from.
Yeah.
Okay. Siddhartha's PP.
Did you see it? Did you see it? The name of the book?
I almost did. I was trying to catch a glimpse, but I couldn't get a full reading.
It's just called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Oh, I was close. I said
Yeah.
Siddhartha's Pee-Pee. I thought of that name. I was trying to. I don't know. I just had like a. I when I heard that first name, I was like, this is a Siddhartha story, and Siddhartha's Pee-Pee. But I was close,
Well,
not quite.
you were close. And it was a friendly kiss from a friend that was displayed there, and that, two old men. He was just like he was for reverence of his old friend. So, but here's the thing.
I was thinking like it was either that or it was Siddhartha. If it was the other, then it would be Siddhartha's Pee-Pee would be the name of the book.
Right. So the funny thing is that Siddhartha is actually the name of the Buddha.
Oh,
So you know who the Buddha was?
yeah, that's like for Buddhism. It's like is the not. I don't know if he's the founder. I'm assuming he's the founder. It's only an assumption, but
Yeah, he's related to Buddhism for sure, but they call him like the enlightened one, or basically like he kind of went beyond all of his worldly emotions. He was sitting under a tree and kind of like realized his existence. And so his name was Siddhartha. But in this book, the Buddha went by a different name. And so the main character in this is Siddhartha. And sort of the idea is like, how did the Buddha come to a place of enlightenment? And I don't want to spoil the book, but there's like 3 different phases of Siddhartha's life that he goes through to, find meaning and purpose in his life.
Now I feel bad for making the Siddhartha's Pee-Pee joke. I didn't know that it was a book. It was a book about that. For anyone who's Buddhist out there, I didn't know. I thought it was just some guy, so I thought it was like some guy's pee-pee. But now like I don't want to offend anybody. It's it's not Siddhartha's pee-pee.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, it could be. So, but
Could,
the
yeah,
thing is,
I guess
dude,
you never know.
it's making, it's every there are billions of people that have PPs, so it's impossible to talk about religion without talking about you know the truth of existence, and the truth of existence is people have PPs. So
Yeah,
so I
and you
I
know,
don't find it offensive.
I bet you Jesus had sex.
Yeah, well, he did for sure
Yeah,
with a
even
with
the
a
Buddha.
hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no record of that,
Oh.
but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Still,
yeah, Jesus was married to a hooker, dude.
Yeah. He was fucking back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, he was fucking, dude.
Hmm.
But the thing is, Jesus, he was Jesus when he was in his 30s, but he was just a guy before that.
Yeah. Come to think of it, I'm starting to like. I'm thinking about it now. This guy was like, he's fucking hookers. He's turning water into wine. This guy was partying. This guy was like living it large. Like, can you imagine? That's like probably like the first time he
Yeah, he was. I
realized.
think he was at least 6 feet, 6'6", maybe. He was big.
Big guy too. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 large.
Living large. Yeah. Probably consume a lot of wine too. You know, the body to alcohol percentage. He probably had a strong tolerance. He was probably chugging, and everyone was like, "How are you doing that, bro? Hey, Jesus, hit me up with one of those water wines."
Yo, if they were saying bro back then,
They were.
well, if they were, they omitted it from the Bible.
I think
I'll
they
tell you
did.
that.
I think they
They
wanted to
did for
like they
sure.
sanitized the story a little bit. Like they left out some of the party scenes. They kind of just like they were like, "Don't include that. Don't, it's bad." It's like Jesus was. He was really going. He was going crazy that night. He had a little bit too much wine. Let's just take that one from the book, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's real. That's real, man. I mean, it took practice, is what I'm saying. It he wasn't like a 12-year-old, going across the land and speaking of what he had learned about life. He he was old. He was older, so like you got to be patient if you want to fulfill your destiny. You need to be patient.
And I mean, for some people, it might just be fucking some hookers and drinking some wine. That might just be some people that just might be the stage for them.
Yeah,
It's the stage of
it may
enlightenment.
very well be. Yeah. Well, you got to imagine, like, you go you there's it depends on what you believe about, like, what's happening before you're born. But like, I'm thinking, like, if there is the choice, which I believe, then you have the choice to be doing the life that you're having. And so, like, you can have, people are asking, is there free will or is there determinism? But perhaps it's both. Perhaps you have the free will to choose a determined life. And perhaps that is where your greatness can be found in.
Yeah. I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix of both. I think there's some things that like are really hard to overcome. There's some things that like I think some people might have different, levels of determination and they can access more as they go through their life. It's kind of like you know, starting position I think plays a big role, but I think that, there's always going to be a certain amount of free will. It's just everyone has a varying scope of free will uh, when they're born. You can be born into some pretty shitty circumstances, but
But that's the thing. Perhaps your choice was to be born into that.
I don't know.
Shitty,
That's
shitty circumstances.
that's yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that. I feel like somebody who's like born into one of those circumstances, they might have something to say about that. They
I
might.
know, but what if no? But what if that was the case? Like, what if like there was just imagine like there's like when you do like laser tag and you go into like the room where all the vests are and stuff, and you put on the vest, and then on the TV screen it's explaining, these are the rules, don't shoot in people's eyes, you know 50 points for the chest, 10 points for the shoulder, right? So imagine like you're going into the loading zone of going into the game of laser tag, but now you're in the loading zone going into the game of life. Okay, you're about to be born. So there might be a selection process where they get a screen that pops up in front of them, and they get to click through all these different options, and people get to have an experience. And sometimes like somebody wants to pop in and have the experience of suffering, or like, even this is an extreme example, but if somebody wanted to come in and know what it was like to be a fetus that, as part of like a miscarriage, and like what is it like to be a fetus that was never born, you know? So maybe people have this screen that they're swiping through, and they're choosing these life experiences.
I so this is the assumption that like someone wouldn't remember that they did that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know. I think that like if that would be kind of awful if that was true though. If there was like I could just imagine somebody would be like I don't know. I think somebody would probably really be upset that they would have like the idea that they would have chose that, you know? I think someone who's like was born into one of those situations. I don't know. I think they'd really contest something like that because I think the idea that they chose it would be pretty painful to them. I think they'd be pretty upset.
Yeah, but that's part of their life. So basically, so I'm imagining we're loading into the laser tag game, right? And like the things that are in uh the loading zone, they they don't have like feelings, they don't have bodies, right? They're kind of just entities without a body, okay? And emotions. It's just pure, I guess, just a thought form, let's call it. So it's in the loading zone, and it's like, okay, in order to have this experience of suffering, I'm not going to be able to remember that I made this choice. And therefore, like, once they get loaded into the game of laser tag, aka life, that's part of the agreement that they signed up for, because they wanted to have that experience.
I feel like it would have complications of like it feels like if that were like if that was theoretically true, that would be like that it feels like taking advantage of someone. Like if that was like that'd be a pretty like a strange system. Cuz imagine like that's like signing a contract without knowing what it entails. Like you're in this non-human form essentially. You'd be agreeing to something that you don't even fully rationalize in that moment and then you'd forget about later. That would I don't know. I think that would kind of suck.
Well, but then you could be but then you don't have to be someone that's suffering. Um, you could be, um, I mean, from the outside, you could be like Zac Efron, dude, or you could be, I mean, you could like, without this opportunity to like forget and to have differences and have a point of view, you wouldn't like, imagine someone's loading into laser tag and they're like, I want to know what it's like to be Vladimir Putin. Okay. They get to go on the screen and they have to swipe and they keep swiping and they're like, okay, yes, I want to be the leader of Russia. Okay. Grocery stores are nice. And boom, now you get to be Putin, dude. I mean, it's just so then you have the opportunity. So you're loaded in to now born as Putin. And so now, but you have this free will um, opportunity at all times. So you made this agreement previously that you're going to be on the Putin track, but then you can decide in the middle of Putin's life, you can decide if you want to follow destiny and become this powerful leader who will run in a democracy, run unopposed, right, and be the leader for decades, or you could choose to do something else. And so there is free will and there is destiny. Um, ultimately, like you get the ultimate free will might be to choose destiny.
See, the thing about that though is that going back to the initial contract of someone not being able to remember what they chose, right? I think it holds complications for the people who have really currently shitty lives. They were born into really bad circumstances, right? For them, I think they would protest this. They would never agree to something like this because the idea that they would have somehow voluntarily signed up for this terrible circumstance, I think is just out of the realm of possibility, because how could they ever do that to themselves? That's like telling someone to admit to self-harm almost. Like that's like walking up to somebody and being like, "Why are you cutting yourself? Why are you cutting yourself?" Like there's like this like I think there's this there's a what would I call it? There's a little there's an extra attachment that comes with like with how this would operate.
Yeah, okay, but the thing is, you're saying it as if like this suffering that people are going through, bad circumstances, is objectively a bad thing, regard like through all time and all experiences. But what I'm saying is these thought forms, the things in the laser tag room, they are unable to experience suffering because they don't have emotions and they don't have bodies. Therefore, that's why they're signing this contract so they can have that life experience. And from their point of view, it's not necessarily a bad thing or negative.
What would be the so is this based on the assumption of like reincarnation?
Not necessarily.
Okay. See, I think there's the first problem of like the person who is in that situation, who's born into that shitty situation. And even though theoretically someone might say then, okay, well you chose that for yourself, it also has that problem of now let's say you had a person who was like, begging for help, and there's this new proposition where someone would say, "Oh, well, you signed up for this. This is enjoy your experience." And the person's like, "No, I want to stop. Like, can you help me? I need assistance. This is the only way that I can get out of this." And now there's this weird dynamic where someone could just be like, "Sorry, bruh," and could just drive off. Like there's these new ramifications that kind of come with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get to through that lens of like this framework, you get to see like who you are as a person and what your own values are. Cuz you can't just it I mean, unless this is your life's mission, it might be inefficient to help every single person that's asking for something. And you're it's all a part of having this experience because now you would be somebody with the awareness that there was this original contract where not everybody knows about it. And right, but that's a experience that you signed up for.
See, I think like I don't think I could ever agree to something like that because of the fact that I feel like part of like humanity, part of like being a human is like it is not just being like an individual. Like I think there's something more where, you know, there's a certain collectivism in humanism. And I feel like getting rid of that, I think that's a massive component of humanity is the ability to think about someone else's situation, think about yourself in their shoes, and then that person who's wanting help. Maybe you can't do everything. You can't do everything in the world, but you think about it and you think that sounds really painful and I'd like to support in any way that I can. I can't do everything. I might not even be someone whose life mission is to solve these problems, but still like the capacity to think about that and like, you know, support it even from just like even just thinking about it, even like thinking about it in a, you know, if I could sort of situation. I don't know.
I don't really understand your objection aside from you know, there could be a cop out and not helping anybody because they chose that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that that theory would kind of undermine a major component of like, you know, what it is to be human. Like I think part of the human experience is caring for others.
Okay, but you don't have to not care for others. You just have to recognize that we're all here with our own life's trajectory.
I don't know. I think there's a little bit more of a collective experience and a bit of a collective responsibility as like being humans. I feel like there's a component somewhere there.
Yeah, but so you're just saying one sliver of what might happen if you recognize that somebody might have signed up for this life experience is going to fundamentally change the way you have relationships with people. And I'm saying that that's not guaranteed to be the case.
I think that the ability for somebody to say that you chose this, I think it undermines a major portion of collectivism and you know the ability to um possibly sympathize with another person. I think it creates an excuse for that component of humanity to be less important.
I disagree.
That's fair. Is this wait? Is this like a? Is this a like? I don't know a lot about Buddhism. I know there's like reincarnation, and I remember learning some things in philosophy. We didn't actually spend very much time. It was like the end of the quarter, and he mentioned it a little bit back when I was taking the class. But what is this like a component of Buddhism?
It plays with Buddhist ideas. Um, I guess there's at least in Taoism, which is like in the family of Buddhism, there is this idea of the Tao, which is basically everything that exists that we don't know about is the Tao. Okay. So, like, whatever happens when we die, that's the Tao. Whatever occurred before we were born, that's the Tao. And honestly, anything that's not happening right now at this current moment, whether it's the past or the future, doesn't currently exist, and so it exists in this immaterial form, which can only be accessed through thought. So it can only partially partially be seen. So all that cannot be seen through imagination or through the senses is the Tao. And like the way they'd explain it is uh the Tao that can be explained is not the Tao. And so basically it the idea is that there is stuff that we don't know about. And perhaps that means that there is like a, other dimensions, there's other, um mechanisms that like act upon our life, besides the ones that we're aware of now. And so through that, then we know. So we know. So to me, we know that we have uh, a limited point of view. Which, if there is a point of view, if you're standing somewhere and you're looking out at something, by definition, your point of view is limited. Okay, because if you're looking this way, you can't see that way. And so that's opinions, that's points of view, that's different takes. People have like political opinions, but literally your point of view is literally when you're sitting there in that chair and you're looking at that screen, you're not in your bathroom, right? So you can't have both of those things simultaneously. And so because we know that we have this singular point of view, then thought experiments allow you to open your mind to the possibilities of what may be occurring. And so the thought experiment of the laser tag is, what would it be like if we all chose to be here? And what would that mean for humanity? And that would mean that, perhaps suffering might have some intentionality behind it. There might be something to be gained from that experience that perhaps even somebody chose. So it's just now you're developing a point of view to view life through that lens, and then if you like it, then use it, and then if not, then you find a different one.
Okay, yeah. I I don't know. I still disagree with the premise of choosing beyond the scope of, I guess, us living currently, but um yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could be convinced of that, but uh I you know I enjoy learning different. I enjoyed philosophy for that reason. It's cool to hear about different like theories of how things like work. Like even like I think we talked about like happiness and well-being and different philosophers like frameworks for determining and trying to define such a thing. But it's interesting.
So you're saying you can't get on board with um some entity choosing to be existing as a human?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thought experiment, but I think it comes with certain problems regarding, our humanism, just from a philosophical standpoint. I think it's probably because my definition of humanism might vary from. I mean, everyone will have a different definition of possibly maybe what that is, but I think it creates implications for that, um, that I don't know. I think takes away from the definition of humanism a little bit, and it also exists beyond a. It's like a theoretical, and I think it could lead to people basing decisions that they make or their world analysis. It could create a lack of caring in certain situations, and basing it off of it being theoretical, I think it has certain there's certain problems that could come from it, and that's what I don't like, and I think what I couldn't get behind.
I still don't get it. I still don't get what your problem is with it.
I, it just is that. It's just that I think it
But
undermines
since you're
humanism.
talking about,
Uh,
but you're talking about humanism, like you have this responsibility to every other human on this earth to give your own undivided attention to them.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we have a responsibility to, like, if we can, to do something. I think that, like, not everyone has that same ability to do something. Everyone has different, like, goals. It's not like you can, like, you're just giving your undivided attention and forgetting about um your own self actualization and just looking at everyone else. But you're also not just completely disregarding that. You still, like, if you see someone who's struggling and you're interfacing with that person, you will at least try to do something. You won't just completely push it to the side and say that's
Yeah,
their
but you don't have to.
experience.
But you don't have to do that. You have your choice in that moment. They might you don't know exactly what their choice was. So what you're saying is you would always make the assumption, "Oh, they're like this, just let them be." But like you have the choice on how to act in every single situation. And perhaps that person wanted to be suffering until you helped them. Okay? Like it's not it's not just this binary thing like my whole life is suffering. I signed up for this, you know? It might be I choose to, live in a wheelchair for 20 years and then I have like this mystical experience, like and my life changes and all of a sudden I can walk. Like you still get to do whatever you want. You just now have this inkling that perhaps whatever experiences people are having, they at some level chose that.
See, I think what happens is it's not necessarily that I think it would make it so I'd have to just assume and not care about someone else. It's about even, like, the morality even behind it, because that it creates an excuse. I don't like the fact that it creates an excuse for possibly not caring or possibly coming up with a reasoning behind why someone is in that situation and having
But you're
having that
but you're gonna do that
appropriate.
anyway. You're always gonna be coming up with an excuse and a story about what this person is going through.
But the
You're
excuse
always
is focused around them having chosen a a bad situation, and I
but
think
it's still an
that.
assumption no matter what you think about somebody, you're still assuming. Now you have another way of assuming about things, like, who cares? You're still gonna be wrong about that person.
I still think that assumption can lead to the disregard of someone else's pain. I think the fact that
Disregard.
component exists, well, because there's this, there's some people who could work it out in their head that, okay, this person has now chosen this, and now there is no longer there's no longer responsibility on society to take care of this person, and to make the assumption
Well,
that.
only if that's what the world you wanna create is. Then it comes back to what your choice is.
But one person, see, I don't think one person can change the world. I think that's maybe the perspective that I'm coming from. I think it takes, like, a collective force and, humanity as a whole to actually make big changes happen. And I think that a certain framework could lead, a part of the public to possibly prefer individualism rather than, some form of even collectivism. And I think individualism is important, but I think it's there's a healthy balance. I think you can dip too much into an individualistic sphere and then kind of detach yourself from, other people. And I think there's, like, I'm not saying that's going to happen if someone is operating under that, but I think if that was, like, widely applied, I don't know. I feel like there could be some problems just under the surface that I can't quite get behind.
Yeah, well, you I don't know if it has anything to do with collectivism and individualism. I think it just is a belief set, and like beliefs are like the doorways to experience. So like depending on what you believe, you are going to take different actions in your life. So, I mean, just starting from the point that like let's say I chose to be here and I chose to have this life experience. You have a whole different framework of operating based on that belief that you have. So like I, I it has nothing to do with other people and me writing other people off and saying, "Oh, they're just going through their thing, like they'll figure it out," and leaving people to their own devices. It's just coming to the point where it's like, okay, if I chose this, then what deep inside of me am I trying what experiences am I trying to have in this life? And it's more introspective than anything else.
I could see that could help in certain scenarios. I'm not saying that that application doesn't work um, everywhere, but there's this implication of somebody could through that process, and someone could say that's their choice, but someone could start placing self-blame onto themselves for a situation that is out of their control. I think it depends on, like, I think it's
Like,
easier
can you give an
to adapt
example?
something like that in an environment where, you'd feel more that you have more choices, right? That introspection is then becomes more realistic, perhaps, because someone could adapt that. Someone who's in a situation where they don't even have time possibly for that self reflection. They're every single day struggling to get through. They've been put in this terrible situation. They might even secretly have some kind of form of self-blame in their head that they can't even wrap their head around. And I mean that can be true for people in even better situations. That even like they could track a decision that they made that led them to a certain a certain period of time in their life where now they think, and maybe it was a string of decisions that led them there. They didn't know that, but now they're upset about it. I think it can lead someone down a road, and it doesn't have to, of course, but it could lead someone down a road of self-blame, blaming themselves. And there also could be a situation where it is just so bad, someone doesn't have time for that kind of self-reflection. It might be easier for us to, for somebody to come at it from a place where they do have choices to think about that.
Yeah, but maybe it was the choice of that person to be so disoriented by their life experience so that they could have that experience,
I mean,
right?
but what would that
So it's not
person
about only choice from the individual as the human. That's all like that I'm saying.
what does it say though about, like, from that person's perspective who's experiencing that pain? Like, could somebody expect them to ever get on board to such a premise? Because I don't think anyone could ever expect them
It
to.
depends on what depends on what, the rest of their life holds and what experiences they have throughout their entire life.
I think I think that's a really, like, difficult thing for someone who's gone through all that to, like, to rationalize. I think it's I don't know. I can't get behind it because of that component
Well,
of
you don't think so
rationalization.
you
I
you think that somebody who's grown up in a bad situation, let's say they're like 25 right now, they can't think about anything, they're hustling every day just to survive, maybe they're sleeping on the streets. You think that they have no chance for the rest of their life to contemplate an idea like this?
No, I'm simply saying that, like, it holds certain it relies upon certain, like, what am I trying like premises that have troubling consequences for someone who would rationalize that they chose something like that, right? Someone might say then, no, I would never choose that because I would just simply choose to be born in a different situation. But someone might then respond to them and say, well, you didn't know that you chose it. This is like not you in this realistic circumstance. And I think a lot of people would probably just say, well, that's unacceptable because this has been so painful for me. Are you, like, someone might ask, are you disregarding my pain and saying that I chose this pain? And then you'd have to rationalize, well, yeah, I'm saying that for you. And then they would say, well, have you lived through this? Would you be saying the same thing? Like, I think there becomes that, like, different life experiences then are coming to this point, and now each life experience could even form somebody's own philosophical thoughts. I think there's more implications to that, and I think that would be hard to, like, I think that would be hard to break down to someone who has had
But who cares?
so
But
bad.
well, then don't talk to those people. I mean, like, I'm just having this conversation with you, and you're saying all of a sudden I couldn't tell other people about this,
Well,
and I
no,
couldn't make this work for this entire population. And I never said that that's what the goal was or anything. I was just sharing a frame of mind.
I'm not saying that. You could share this with other people too. It is like it's like a, you know, a philosophical, like, experiment. You know, like that's what that's like a, you know, making like theoretical, like, propositions is like all about. I'm just saying that I wouldn't get behind, like, I find there to just be certain ramifications about it that I can't rationalize because I just can't get behind it from my own, like, definitions of, like, humanism, and again, like, those problems that it, like, forms for me personally. I
Because you
can't
don't think
get
people would
behind it.
choose to work in sweatshops, and you don't think people would choose to, you know, uh, be slaves, and you don't
Yeah,
think people would choose to, like, be raped and things like that.
I don't. That, I guess maybe that is a more direct line to take it. Yeah, I don't believe people would choose that. And I think the fact that a lot of those people would say that exact same thing. I just I
Yeah,
can't get it behind it from that perspective.
but you're saying the people, and, like, okay, so imagine this. We live on this earth in the solar system in this we're in a galaxy, right? But then there's the universe. Universe is expanding forever. Pretty much, as far as we know, everything exists in some form or another, okay? They're starting to have theories of, like, parallel universes and things like that. Like, none of, like, it's all that is it's infinity, and then it keeps getting bigger, right? It's so big. So, like, all that I'm, like, saying that to say is, just because the human, like all, in order for these things to exist, there had to be a human in those circumstances for them to exist, right? Of all the infinite possibilities. So it's entirely possible that somebody decided to have voluntary amnesia, this thought form, to be born into this life experience so that that life experience could exist. And so that other people, perhaps, this is just one of the reasons why they would want that, other people could learn from that and build their lives based on the experiences of others. You know, like, we would be nothing without um, the people that have come before us. Horrible experiences. Being a mother before there was modern medicine, and, like, oftentimes moms were dying in childbirth and things like that. Like, we wouldn't exist without these people going through this incredible hardship.
Yeah, I don't think I don't have any problem saying that, like, hardship and sacrifice is is a part of the human experience. I do think it's a part of the human experience. I'm just I personally don't like the idea of getting too close to necessarily justifying it. I don't think that that's what that does, But the fact that it takes like a step in the direction of saying, okay, someone might have chose this. I don't like that premise. To me,
Because
it gets
you're saying
closer.
it's objectively bad that these things are happening. It's
I think to some
objectively bad.
degree,
Suffering is objectively bad.
I do actually. I think so. I think in context of like, and I think it depends. Pain, I think, is relative. I think suffering is relative. You'd have to ask the individual person. Even like describing pain, even if you look at like a doctor's office rating chart. I mean, how do you rate pain on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? It's something that is extremely hard to pinpoint. But I think that it's one of those experiences that I think sure someone could say if they wanted to that they thought that their pain was objectively neutral, good, whatever way you could use to describe it. But if someone told me that their pain was extremely bad and they wanted it to end and that every day was suffering and they wished they were never born at all, I wouldn't argue with that person, or I wouldn't have anything to say. I'd say that's fair, and I hope that things go differently for you. I hope that you know if I could do something, I try to help. I try to think of some way. I can't do that for everybody, but for each their own experience, I could only hope the best for that person. And I don't think it's necessarily true that people are built to experience that kind of pain and suffering. I don't think people were put in certain situations just to suffer, especially when that person themselves wants everything to leave that situation, perhaps even tries and dies in the attempt of trying. I I don't think that means that their suffering was like, was nothing. It had no meaning. It had no consequence. There's still meaning there, but I just don't think that it was chosen.
Yeah.
I don't even have like I don't even have my own like theoretical like premise of like what happens like before or after the experience of life. I don't even uh I don't even have my own to bring up. So I'm I'm not even bringing another like proposition to the table. I just yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it takes some time, but I mean, and you realize, um, yeah, I'm kind of in the business of having a belief system that can like uh encompass all of life's experiences, and like perhaps that one will get me closer to what I'm looking for, because okay, so there's basically like 300 whatever years ago, they come from England, right? They start this new country, just a shitload of immigration and kind of like um cultural whitewashing in all directions, right? We want to get away from the English way of living. We're going to leave all of our family and our ancestors, all leave that all behind. Just done horrible things to like the native peoples of North America, and any immigrants coming from other places. They didn't have cell phones or anything. They're cutting ties. They're not bringing their records, right? So we're getting here into the United States, and we don't really have like a cultural identity per se. And so, like, in lieu of a cultural identity, I feel like, uh, at least historically, based on our DNA genetically, like we, I think this maybe is where the collectivism comes in. we we become closer and bonded with, you know, the modern culture and what we have in front of us. And I just think that, like, in the modern culture, which, you know, on the money it says in God we trust, we have 350,000 churches in this country. And just for reference, there's only like 15,000 McDonald's in the whole country, right? And now we have 350,000 churches. So, like, I don't know what all those beliefs of those churches are, but like written in those documents, which have heavily influenced our culture, and you have this idea that this is good and that this is bad. Objectively, you do these things to gain favor. I mean, ultimately to gain favor and to get into heaven, right? To be accepted by God, which, so even if we don't hold those beliefs historically or within our own um, individual belief set, this good and bad still permeates through our belief systems that we think with. So I'm just curious, like, I see the value in having good and bad to bring people together, but like to say that something is objectively bad, I'm not sure if I'm willing to say that. I'm willing to say that I have a preference of this is the world that I would like to curate. I'm this creative being. I can make this world based on like the resources and, like, you know, the skills that I've developed. This is the life that I want. This is a creative act. But to say that, like, the act is good or bad, or what is occurring is good or bad, I can't fully get on that.
Well, I believe that good and bad is subjective. I don't think it's like it's set in stone. I think there's things that we all collectively agree are bad, like murder, like if you kill somebody or if you do something terrible to another person. I think there's a certain level of like low that you can go where, you know, a lot of people might agree with you that a certain thing that you might do to someone else is bad. But again, like there's serial killers and serial killers kill people and they don't think it's bad. So to some degree, yeah, across like a population, it's going to be subjective to a certain degree, not to, you know, say that like half the population just thinks murder's okay and is going around killing people. There's like rare instances of like someone who, you know, whether their brain chemistry, however they were born into the world, they just don't have that same capacity. But I mean, it is subjective to a certain degree. Same thing, like why I think like, pain is so hard to describe. You know, how do you describe your pain to someone else? They can't possibly feel what you feel, and you can't feel what they feel. So there is this little bit of a disconnect there. But yeah, I don't think it's set in stone. I think maybe some people would like to think that there's always a clear good and a clear bad, but um, I agree. I think it's a bit subjective too. It's not always so solid.
Yeah, so in my view, I mean, murder is horrible, right? Like, we don't do that because it's, to me, it provides more value to say that murder is not acceptable to us collectively as a human race, not to say that it's wrong or that it is bad inherently, because, like, dude, everything is acculturated, right? Like, in some cultures people don't wear clothes, or, you know, in European countries and other places, women who aren't wearing any clothes, that are topless, that's not a sexual object, right? But were they to come here and go into Times Square, people would be outraged by that, right? Like, many people, at least.
Well, some people some people would
Yeah.
be upset about it.
Okay,
Not
but like if
everybody.
a mom's walking by with her like young children, like,
No.
it's like, so that mom might say, based on their Christian permeated belief system, that's bad. They're wrong. But what they're really saying is the social contract that I signed growing up did not allow for that. And now I'm upset.
Yeah, so I think that it is partially like a social contract, cultural. To like, there's certain like levels. Like, there's this fear of like, culturally what a culture decides, and then you have something like murder, which is more so in the sphere of like, this is a commonality amongst all cultures. No culture accepts like the murdering of their, like, there's like human sacrifice and like things built into some cultures. So there is like, it does push the line even on that mechanism. War even is killing other people. Killing citizens within your own cultural group is something that seems more consistently not okay. Even then, there's some like rationalization that a culture will make for it, like Aztecs, human sacrifice. I don't know, like other cultures, like crime, there's capital punishment, but to a point of like unreasonable killing. Like, there has to be under the guise of some reason, like war. There has to be um some reasoning for it in our brains as humans. It seems like across the board, like unwarranted killing that is just so emotionless and without any sort of like reasoning to it, that seems to be the one consistency. And so there, it makes me wonder, this must exist, this must push beyond the cultural bounds of what like a culture accepts. And this goes into a new territory of, this is something that humans with, empathy and emotions, no matter who they are or where they are in the world or what they grew up in, this is something that we all kind of, accept in some way or another.
Yeah, it's like it's the golden rule, dude. I mean, it's ultimately, to me, it's what world would we like to create? It's coming back to creativity. I want to say something else though. Another thing found in the majority of these cultures is some sort of belief in a deity, in some sort of god like figure, right? A creative force that can be found throughout. And I can say pretty confidently that the majority of people on this planet, at least a few billion, believe in one of the in a religion of some sort of creative being, something like that they're praying to, towards, and for. And I think that's a really important component to this. And I think that especially in the places where they have had more cultural continuity, that um that belief in God or in a religion, like um it is more, it's more uh in the forefront of their consciousness, of like it being influencing their thoughts and decisions. Whereas in the United States, I believe it's really in the brain, it's in the consciousness, but it's really just one step from being completely disappeared from our consciousness and having only being unconscious. So, sort of what I'm arguing is there's a lot of atheists and agnostics in this country that I think really are operating from a belief in God, or at least the Christian values that they haven't uncovered yet, that are lingering in their subconscious.
That could very well be. Yeah. I think that what you said before, like how a religion that is very dominant within a culture will eventually, some of those values might be passed on to the rest of the population. I mean, very true. And like, you look at many different countries, and if they've had a religion that has like, dominated for a while, that will sometimes pass along to people, especially as people even convert to other religions or just step away from religion and become less religious. Some of those things will still probably linger around. I mean, look at even like a holiday like Christmas. It's like originally was religious and now it's kind of become more spread to the masses. There's a lot of people who celebrate Christmas. Even people of other religions will just, uh, will tag along because it's just kind of become a holiday. Uh, but yeah, I think definitely there's a lot of different forces within like the cultural sphere that we might not realize influence us when they're just tucked right in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out of water. It goes
Are
quick.
you? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm almost out of water too.
You got the big jug though. I always just got a little mini cup.
Yeah. It's all relative. Isn't that what we're talking about?
I guess it is. It's all relative. I'm thinking maybe I'll do. We're at the 1 hour mark. I should have said this in the beginning so that just in case to make people like stick around. I was gonna say I'm gonna try these on camera and it's supposed to be like the risk, like it's like ooh, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh man, I can't believe this. I can't believe, oh, I can't believe he's doing this. I just am imagining the audience right now is doing that. They're like, oh no, he's gonna try it, and I was gonna build it up and then be like at the end, stick around towards the end of the episode, guys, because I'm gonna try this cookie. But I forgot to say that. But for those of you who did stick around, you get a little treat because I'm gonna
Is
see.
it a cookie or a biscuit?
Oh, that's a good question. I always called them a cookie because you know what? It's interesting because it says it's a Lotus Biscoff cookie on the back,
Mm.
but isn't this British? And they would call it a biscuit, wouldn't they?
I don't know what a biscuit is, dude. I thought it was just like a cookie, but a thinner cookie.
Maybe. I actually don't know what the definition of a biscuit is either. I know their biscuit is more like a cookie, and our biscuit is just
Our
a biscuit.
it's a baked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, I was thinking of biscotti, which is you've seen that, right?
Yeah, I have seen one of those, the biscotti. I don't
It's
think we
kind of like
really.
bread. It's like kind of like bread. It looks like bread, but it's crunchy, and then they put chocolate on it.
Yeah, or sometimes I've seen like I've seen them put like other things like little like fruits and things like maybe not like a fruit but like a cranberry. Is that what I'm thinking of? Like cranberries sometimes in a
Yeah,
biscotti.
I've never seen this hand gesture before, but you've been doing this one.
Oh, they like that's
You were
me
like a
inserting the cranberries.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know if it's like a cranberry or a
Yeah, it's me and
yeah.
I'm inserting the fruit into the biscotti. Like that's me going.
Yeah. I've just been getting more into like hand gestures and uh like you know what you're gonna say, but like instead of like try this, like oh, I'm gonna eat so you already know the line. I'm gonna eat my biscuit cookie now.
Mm.
But then like you see wait like you take the pause and you're like you're finding the words and it's like it's more of like a demonstration. It's like I'm gonna have my cookie biscuit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
kind of like yeah,
And
thinking about it and like the
yeah.
processing. Yeah.
And it's like you saw even like my hand it was like this or like if you're if you need to take a pause like you're going to burp or something but you keep the hand moving like you know that it's coming. That
The words
there's
will
more.
come.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about it. Now when I'm like, now I'm about to like go into the next part. I'm like, I gotta like, I'm about to eat this Biscoff cookie. Let's see. It might be stale. I'll be excited about it. Someone's like, "There's gotta be." I'm trying to. I hope the audience is like, "Oh, is he gonna?" No, it's okay. It's good.
Yeah, is it moist at all?
No, it's just crunchy. But I think this is how they're supposed to be. I think it's okay. Oh, I'm chewing into the mic.
I can't hear it.
I don't know if they can though. Not that again. No one's. It's still 0. It's still 0. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna do the bit where like it was like out of date and it like I was gonna like fall over out of the chair and then I just didn't commit. I was gonna try to make it more surprising and then like get like caption like Jesse died in this video. Like he ate the bad Biscoff cookie and then I was like, no.
That would have been great. Still funny.
The lost Biscoff.
So here's the thing. So I have a question. You think that if you're teaching kids, do you want to teach the kids outside of school, or do you want to teach the teachers to teach in school?
Like if I had to take like a teaching job, like what would I be
No,
teaching?
so let's say you want to teach kids Tai Chi. Would you create a Tai Chi business that like did an after school program that like taught Tai Chi? Or would you start a teacher training program to teach teachers that can then teach in the schools?
That's a good question. I guess it's the question of whether you might want to pass that on to other people because that does like the max amount of good. Because now you have a bunch of people who are teaching in a way.
But my after school business can be a tons of people, right? I can train people, or I can take people that are already teaching in schools and then teach them Tai Chi.
Oh, I know what you mean. Okay, so is it about like creating a center for people to come practice Tai Chi? You can still teach people who can then teach others, or is it going directly to the people who are currently teaching and trying to spread it that way?
Right.
That is a really good question, because if you teach it to the teachers who are already teaching, I feel like that kind of like makes it so that now it's like in the school program, which is like a huge is a huge thing. Teaching it outside though, that's also a huge I mean, people do extracurricular activities all the time.
Yeah.
But I would say probably you probably reach more people, I'd say, by teaching the teachers who are already teaching. Because then somebody who, never was going to sign up for Tai Chi might run into it through, their classroom. And now you have, some kids that, get to experience the extra exercise if they want to, and they didn't necessarily sign up for it. Kind of gives it, what do you call that? Gives it an audience that might never have seeked it out themselves.
It's better marketing to have it integrated with the school system.
Yeah. Plus, you get more contact with people who might have not have been seeking it out too.
Yeah. Okay. Because you can also do after school programs, right? So it's not they don't have to drive somewhere else. They just leave their kid at school longer, right? And you teach on the campus.
That's true, yeah. I guess the question is, yeah, I don't know. You'd probably mainly get people who are seeking it out, which is still good too. You know, you're offering someone a life benefit, and you know, someone's seeking out the exercise and everything. Either that or working it into the school system is a cool idea. You know, could get into like PE programs too, where PE teachers start actually including it in their, you know, um, physical exercise regimen. Will actually teach it too. Who knows?
Mm. Yeah, PE. Nice, dude.
Yeah.
PE.
Even like doing Tai Chi with you on Mondays, like it's a nice break in the day. Like I could even see in the classroom after, like, you know, kids are sitting down and learning for this long period, being able to get up in the middle and like do like some Tai Chi, like just like get some like movement going. I could imagine that being really nice in the school day, you know? And it would teach
Yeah,
people to
oh,
actually
I
like move
agree.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it would make if teachers were the ones teaching it, I think the teachers would be better at teaching and they'd be more present.
Yeah, it would be a benefit for everyone. I mean, I would love it if like, because man, my college classes, I have a 2 hour and 50-minute class every single Thursday, and that is, we get a break in the middle, but I
That's it?
that's it, just a break in the middle of it.
10 minutes? What do you got?
We get, yeah, 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes, and I it would be so nice to be able to just like, if there was a nice sizable period where we could just get some like just a little bit of like movement in. That would be really nice. Like we get like basically a bathroom break, and then we got to be back.
Wait, so is it like an lecture hall or what's it?
It's a smaller class because this is my senior seminar. So they kind of designed them to be smaller. But
Okay, so everyone could stand up at their desk and do Tai Chi and it would be fine.
no, this is a little bit of a cramped room. They do got us in the small room, but there's a hallway outside, and usually during the break period it's empty. I mean, people could theoretically do Tai Chi in the hall, or there's so many
Okay.
spare rooms too. Like they don't lock any of the classrooms at my university. They kind of leave them open so that I think students can use them as like meeting points if they need to. And then I think they shut them down at a certain time. So theoretically, you could even just go and do a classroom that's empty. You know, people could do some Tai Chi.
Okay. Dude, everyone could do Tai Chi all the time.
True. It'd be a nice break.
Businesses, dude, are you kidding me? You
Yeah,
have
break for the day.
like a manager guy that's like he's better at his job, but now he can lead Tai Chi, um you have a Tai Chi and then you have your business meeting.
Yeah, getting some movement. I think like that sitting. Yeah, the sitting is really what gets me. I mean, it's really sucks because on Thursdays, I've got classes with only 10-minute breaks between each class, and I'm basically walking to the class. I don't have time to grab food, do anything. From 10 a.m. all the way to 4:50 p.m. every single Thursday, I have no break between my class schedules. I'm basically going from class A to class B to class C. Got 10 minutes between each of them, and the only time I get like a true break between my classes is the 2 hour and 50-minute class, which gives you 10 minutes. Actually, the 1 hour and 50-minute classes, because the other two are 1 hour and 50 minutes. Those one give you like a very, very small break in between. I think it is like 5 minutes or something, and then you're back. And I just sometimes like that day drives me insane. Like I come from home from that day and I feel bad. I've been sitting for so long, like in a chair.
Yeah.
I feel bad. It's
Yeah.
really,
Some of the chairs you can stand up from and stand and watch the lecture.
I could, yeah. Again, it's even me getting over that factor of like, you think about it, and people do get up. You can get up and use the bathroom. It's not like the professor's gonna like call you out and scream at you. Like people do that all the time throughout. But like, for me, it's just like the sitting, and maybe I should just try standing. No one has done that in the class. I've never seen somebody do that, so I'm almost like I shouldn't be worried because no one's gonna say anything, right? No one says anything. You could like walk up and be like, "Ha!" and then just like run out of the classroom, and no one's gonna do anything. It doesn't matter. You just look kind of weird. Standing up isn't even that weird. I just have this like,
No, it's not.
it's
You
not
think
weird at all. That's the crazy thing.
you
But
think
I
Mike
don't.
Mike Tyson would be afraid of standing up in his college class?
No, and I don't mind. The weird thing is I don't mind, like, I'll get up in the middle and go to the bathroom, right? Like I'm not worried about like getting up and like, like everyone looking at me, but like getting up and like just standing and watching the lecture. I'm also taking notes too, but I could just like bring a clipboard or something. But
Yeah, well,
even
I mean, dude,
I don't know.
I'm doing it like half the time when I'm in lecture at school, I'm standing in the back of the classroom and I'm stretching the whole time.
That's good.
I'm doing this sometimes, just when no one's watching.
Just when no one's watching. I I like okay, is there a place in the back of the classroom that I could do that? I might have to be on the side. I wouldn't want to be distracting to people, so I don't know how much I could get away with. I'm trying to think of the layout of every single classroom. They
You
put
just
the desk and chair pretty close to the back. I don't know, like I could find a corner maybe if I really could position myself in
and
every
you don't have to do it
classroom,
in
but
every class. You just have to do it in one class and see if it works, if you feel better.
true, middle class would be the best. But that one's a weird layout. I still like there's also the component for me of like, and I know it's like I would have to get over it, but like because like there's like activities that everyone else does, like going to the bathroom, right? Being the
Uh-huh.
first person to do an activity, there's a little bit of like you gotta have a little bit of gumption. You know what I mean? You gotta have a little bit of you gotta have that gumption and just go for it. You know?
Yeah, yeah, I guess. I think it, dude. I mean, through the lens of choice, you got the choice of feeling bad that you sat too long, or the choice of feeling bad that you did something that other people aren't doing. So,
Yeah.
and I kind of look like a bee right now.
Yeah. You buzzing?
Yeah, and I watched that movie, The Beekeeper. Did you see it?
I don't think I have seen The Beekeeper. No.
Have you seen ads for it?
Maybe. I don't know actually. Yeah, it doesn't
It's a
sound.
Jason Statham movie. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, this is sounding familiar now. This movie because I think I might have seen an ad for it. Isn't it like
He's like, yeah, I'm the beekeeper.
I think I might have seen an ad for it possibly. I might have.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna ruin the whole movie, but he's a beekeeper, and he looks kind of like this. He looks like a bee.
He looks like a bee.
Yeah,
Is the idea that like he blends in with the other bees, like the other bees are like this guy, he's okay.
yeah. The bees like him.
Hmm. That's good.
Yep.
I gotta say, it's a much different approach than like just putting on like a beekeeper suit, that like protects you from the stings. This approach is like
Yes.
I'm looking like the bees, and so they're
Uh-huh.
not even gonna sting me. I'm just them.
Yes, camouflage. He's a bee chameleon.
A bee chameleon. Yeah.
Anyway, Jason Statham was in this movie called Crank.
I
Crank.
don't think I've heard of that one. Crank.
Well, he's in Crank and a movie called Crank High Voltage. And so basically the premise of the movie is the first one, he gets poisoned and the poison's going to kill him except for if he keeps his adrenaline up, then that counteracts the poison.
Mm.
So while he's searching for the antidote, he's got to do a bunch of crazy shit to keep his adrenaline up. And so he gets in fights with people. He drove a car through a mall. He did a bunch of other shit. And basically, yeah, did a bunch of cocaine. And so he did it. He spent the whole movie doing those kind of activities to stay alive.
How? Wait, was this all within a day that encompassed this movie? Like he can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Damn.
No. The whole movie is like a span of like 4 hours.
Oh, damn.
He wakes up, the guy shows there's a video on the TV. He's like, "Yo, I hit you with that." I mean, they say this was in 2006. They say it's that Chinese shit. They got him with the Chinese shit, and there's just a video of him injecting him in the neck while he was asleep.
Damn.
And he's like, "Duh." And then he does a bunch of cocaine. You should watch the movie. It's honestly pretty good.
Okay, I will. I mean, I feel like that's a way, like, you wouldn't have to do anything dangerous if you just got yourself a good amount of cocaine, right? You could just keep your adrenaline up and you just do cocaine until you find the antidote.
Yeah, you could. He ran out of cocaine pretty quickly. But there's a lot of other ways. I won't spoil it. However, there's a crank 2 high voltage. And so he gets spoiler alert, but in the second one, they find out, oh God, this guy he's got the strongest heart. I mean, he survived the poison. He survived all the adrenaline junkie shit. This old guy takes him, kidnaps him, takes out his heart, and then puts his heart. The old guy gets his heart because he was dying. The old guy was dying. Jason Statham's character now has a plastic heart that has this battery pack that's connected to it, and the battery pack can run out. But the battery pack is hooked up to his skin, and so if he shocks himself with electricity, it can charge up the battery, and it will keep his plastic heart pumping.
Wait, so he has the antidote now. Like, he fixed the first problem that he was having,
Yeah.
right? But now he has another problem that requires. That's crazy.
So it's not adrenaline anymore. It's like he has to get tased. He has to hook up his nipples to like a car battery. Bro, he's got to charge that. He's got to charge that battery.
That's crazy. Technically, he's then immune from electricity, right? Because it can't stop his heart. It can only power him up.
Yeah. That's a crazy premise, though, right?
That is insane. Yeah. I wonder, like, does the? I guess I don't know if I should ask for spoilers, but I'm curious. Like, does he ever like fix this problem, or does he just have to live the rest of his life like? Whenever he goes to sleep in bed, does he just have like an auto timer that just like, and he's like, oh, he's like, all right, time to go back to sleep.
Yeah, he's too much into action for like a simple solution like that.
So he does get it fixed eventually. He goes on like the journey to like putting an end. Is he going for his heart back? Is he like, I'm gonna get this guy? Get my heart.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's the mission, is to get his heart back.
That's insane. Imagine going through like a heart surgery and then like an involuntary one, and then you're like, I'm getting it back. How long has it been? Put me on the surgery table again. Put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, God damn.
Yeah, luckily he's got I won't spoil the movie anymore, but damn, I mean, worth watching.
Yeah. What was that old guy thinking? I'm wondering, putting the electric heart in him.
Oh, why even give him a new heart?
Yeah, that just sounds like he's like just like challenging him. Like, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do about it, bruh? Come get it from me.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I'm done.
All right. We're at 125. We don't even have like I don't even know why I say the time every single recording. It's not like that we have any like time that we're trying to keep or anything like that anyways, but yeah. No, it's still zero views, but you know, you never know. Maybe someone comes in because of the Biscoff cookie, someone gets excited and
Did you stop it already?
no, I didn't. Oh, we'll
Okay,
stop it.
wait,
All
can I
right.
say this one thing?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
say this one thing?
Mm.
There's this guy, Paul Stamets. He's the mushroom guy. He is the owner of the company Host Defense. They sell mushrooms in like capsule form and like spray form. There's this agarikon mushroom which only grows in old growth forests, and they get really really big. They're actually illegal to pick because they're kind of an endangered species. But he's cultured this agarikon mushrooms, and they did this study for actually COVID vaccines. You know how some people have like adverse effects where they get sick or like there's pain in the injection site, headaches, all this kind of stuff. When somebody took the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine and they took this agarikon mushroom, the they had good results. I don't remember the numbers, but anyway, mushrooms plus COVID vaccine, less pain is basically what the study showed.
Hmm.
So very interesting, very very interesting.
Do you recommend that for people like who like take it like took it like a year ago or something?
I would recommend it for anybody who wants to have a stronger immune system because it has antimicrobial, it has antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal properties, which hardly any natural substance has.
Okay.
So it's great for your immune system.
I was just asking for the audience so that because no one can no one's watching and no one's gonna like but we wouldn't see it if someone did like be like, oh wait, I have more questions. We who knows how long ago this episode would be, so just in case, I'm just like thinking for the audience like what they would ask. They might ask that, and it's safe for
Oh,
everyone. Everyone can take it. It's not like you only in like a certain situation. This is like it's just good for immune system.
well, yeah, but it's good. So it's mushrooms, dude. So we're more like mushrooms than we are to dolphins. Did you know that? That's a
No,
lie.
I
That's a lie.
yeah,
We're
that
more like
I was thinking about that. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. That would be kinda like, wait a minute.
but we're more like mushrooms than we are corn or bananas. This is the there we go. Okay, so this is Myco Shield, and this is like a spray. So they take the live fruiting bodies of the mushrooms, they mix it with uh, alcohol just to like preserve it, and you spray it in your mouth. So this one, agarikon mushrooms, as I was saying. Um, this also has chaga mushrooms, reishi, um, birch, um, and turkey tail. So turkey tail is the most researched mushroom for the immune system, and it's good for a lot of stuff. I know. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't know for sure. This one's peppermint flavored, and but this is the Host Defense Company, right? He's this guy. He made this app to where he's studying psychedelic mushrooms too, and he's tried a lot of psychedelic mushrooms that are not even like like people say like magic mushrooms. They mean like psilocybin mushrooms, right? You heard of that? You heard of psilocybin mushrooms before?
Yeah.
Okay, so but he's taking them that aren't even psilocybin mushrooms necessarily, like ones that like people are like actually slightly toxic. Um, so this dude loves mushrooms, dude. He's got this whole he's got samples. He's trying to preserve the mushrooms on this planet, right? Because they have so many important res- they're such an important part of the ecosystem. But
Oh.
so then he came up with this plan. Why don't we study psychedelic mushrooms?
There's actually some really cool documentaries on I think I've seen one on Netflix about psychedelic mushrooms, and like it has a lot of it can be really useful in I think like what is it? It's like psychology studies where like they say it has really beneficial mental health it has mental health benefits.
Yes, yes, mental health benefits, and but those are clinical studies. But what he's doing is he's getting a population studies, and so these are anonymous. People get the app, and then there's like he's asking now for 90 days for people to log into the app and answer the questions. And so he's found that there's a lot of mental health benefits, but there's also a lot of um, physiological benefits like connecting like the brain and allowing to the motor control of your body improve. And so his study is all about microdosing, so taking a small enough amount to where you might only subtly feel the effects, right? They're not taking large doses. Like usually like a dose would be like, I don't know, like I don't know how to measure it. There's this book, maybe like a third the size of this book would be like, okay, we're going on a mushroom trip, right? There's gonna be liftoff. You're gonna feel some things. Microdose would be like a size of a grain of a rice or even smaller, right? So there's a certain pattern. You take it for these many days. You don't take it for these many days. So he found that just taking that microdosing allowed people to there's this tap test on the phone. So on his app, there's like these tests for your eyes and for your ears, and the doing the microdosing allowed you to tap the screen faster.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was like I don't know, like 10% for the microdosing, but they went they went from but he has this special, he calls it the Stamets stack. So you take the microdosing, but then you also take another mushroom, lion's mane mushroom, which is good for your brain, plus niacin, which is like a B vitamin. So when you take those three, the microdose, niacin, and lion's mane, there was even more of an increase in the number of taps. So over this 30 days, they went from like 40, 48 taps to like 68 taps in a minute. Whereas with just the microdosing, it went from like 48 to like 55. So they
Dang.
found that you tap fast on microdosing.
That's really interesting. I have heard the thing about the brain connectivity, that it's supposed to like it opens up different pathways in your brain that normally aren't that active. That I can't remember the name of the documentary that I watched, but it was really cool. They were going into like I think they talked about it. It was broadly about psychedelics too. They were talking about how um, yeah, psychedelic mushrooms and acid and things like that were being used in these clinical studies, and how they actually found some pretty like phenomenal results from it. Uh, for like it was mostly on mental health, but that's interesting. I never heard of the it's increasing. I don't know if that would be their reflexes. That's not reflexes, or I guess how fast their brain is able to process the signal that you need to tap your finger, right? I don't know what that would be
Yeah.
called, but response time.
Yeah, their response time, but it's multiple things, right? So you have the brain is sending the signals to the muscles in your fingers to move, right? But there's also signals coming from your fingers telling your brain where your fingers are, right? The sensory reception. And then you also have like uh the sense of like where your arm is in space and like just like overall body awareness. So it's hard to say what's specifically the mechanism is for why it's getting better faster. We just know that it is. And yep. This study was done with Psilocybe cubensis, which is one of the strains, one of the most common strains. So that's important to know. But I mean, it's not possible to have a bad trip on microdose. So especially if it's decriminalized in your city.
Yeah, I heard they were doing that, right? They were actually starting to decriminalize it in some areas.
Yeah, they're making it unlawful to prosecute. So like the police would be wasting their time if they were to arrest you because they wouldn't be able to invest any money in actually sending you to jail. So the first city was I'm pretty sure Denver, Colorado, and then the second city actually was Oakland, California in 2019. And
Hey,
then yeah, and then I know Portland, Oregon has done it, and now Seattle, Washington also, and it's got to be other places too, perhaps Los Angeles, but decriminalized.
that's good. That's nice. Especially because now they can maybe start doing some studies on it. They were back in there's some like really old research on it. Like I think back in the 80s or something. Or maybe, but yeah, I think it was before the war on drugs. But before then, they were doing studies and they found some like really cool stuff, but they never got to actually continue it. It kind of got shut down quickly when the war on drugs happened. But it's cool because now maybe they can start putting more, resources into looking into those benefits again.
Yep. Well, that's a new industry that'll be opened up in the next 5 years, especially like once they become legal, which will gu- guarantee in the next 10 years it'll be legal nationally and possibly within 5 years. And there's actually this bill in California that's being sent. Like they had this one to like legalize in the state of California that Newsom vetoed, but now they're sending this one up to him that like allows a trained professional to procure and to offer procure the mushrooms and to offer guidance services for people.
Nice.
Um, so that I mean that's happened in the last 2 months that they've written that. So um, I
I
mean
swear, if
that's
he
gonna be a
vetoes
job.
it, this
Bastard.
time, second time's the charm.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's gonna be an industry. Just as the pot industry has kind of um, it's only legal in just over half the states, I'm pretty sure, but you know, it's a wave of things that is going to happen. And as you know through economics, boom.
Yeah, I sometimes just hate economics.
Yeah, but you just can't you can't be too early of an adopter. But you
Yeah,
got to get on as early as possible.
yeah. Eventually, too, you eventually the market will start to kind of consolidate into like bigger firms too. So you generally want to be the guy who gets in, and then eventually probably you'll sell it to some big guy who comes in. We used to sell cigarettes. I don't know. I mean, they did get into the weed industry. I don't know if they'd I don't know if that would be an adjacent market for them, but yeah, it's just... All right. Well,
Dolphins.
Dolphins?
Yeah, remember?
Oh,
More
yeah.
like mushrooms than dolphins. Yeah.
More like mushrooms and dolphins. I thought you meant like you had like a dolphin spray or something, and you were like, shh.
No, again, that was my Garicon mushroom spray.
I thought you had two, though. I thought maybe you grabbed a second one and you were like, dolphins. Shh. It was like the dolphin oil.
Gross.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
All right.
Alrighty, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Eat your mushrooms and don't smoke.
And your biscotti.
Biscotti, yeah. Remember, check if they're stale. This is 3 weeks is okay from what I can tell. 3 weeks is fine. Goodbye.